A racist Karen thought she could just harass a black man for his skin color, but little did she know, her life was about to change forever. Maplewood Heights was the kind of neighborhood where lawns were manicured into geometric perfection and Mercedes-Benz SUVs gleamed in driveways. The HOA's iron gates bore a plaque, Pride in Excellence. Today, though, a dented U-Haul truck idled outside 12 Elmridge Lane, its engine rattling like a cough in a symphony. Derrick Cole stepped out, sleeves rolled to his elbows, sweat beading his brow as he unloaded a box labeled Kitchen. His posture was straight, deliberate, a man accustomed to command. A notification buzzed on his phone. Police scanner alert. Suspicious person reported on Elmridge Lane. He silenced it, lips tightening. Across the street, Margaret Whitaker, HOA president and self-appointed guardian of neighborhood standards, sipped a latte on her porch. Her eyes narrowed as Derrick hoisted a toolbox. Delivery help shouldn't look so at ease. She set her cup down. This required attention. Margaret marched across the street, her heels clicking like a metronome of self-righteousness. "Excuse me," she called, sharp enough to cut glass. Derrick turned, wiping his hands on a rag. "Are you the new help?" Margaret tilted her head, eyes raking over his faded work shirt. "If you're here for the Thompsons' pool, their contractor uses the service entrance." A laugh rippled through three neighbors now loitering on the sidewalk. Derrick gestured to the moving truck. "No, ma'am. I'm moving into 12 Elmridge." Margaret's smile froze. "Oh, well." She flipped through a clipboard. "We have standards here. No allowed modifications. No unsightly vehicles." She paused, lips pursing as if tasting something sour. "You'll need to park that truck elsewhere by sundown." Derrick nodded, spine rigid. "Understood. I'll speak to the HOA about parking permits." "I'm the HOA president," Margaret snapped, as though the title alone could erase his existence. "And I'd appreciate it if you'd hurry up. Some of us have guests this weekend." The neighbors chuckled. Derrick's gaze flicked to the U-Haul's rearview mirror. Chief of Police sticker glinted faintly in the sun. He said nothing. By midday, Margaret returned with three neighbors in tow, their phones already recording. "Still here, I see," she said, louder now, as if performing for an audience. "This is private property. You're violating HOA Section 9, loitering and disruptive behavior." A man in a polo shirt smirked. "Maybe he's casing houses? Seen that before." The group tittered. Derrick stacked boxes, ignoring the weight of their stares. "I'm moving in, ma'am. My realtor confirmed the permits." Margaret thrust her clipboard at him. "Prove it. And explain that vehicle." She gestured to the U-Haul, lip curled. "We don't allow that sort on Elmridge." The neighbors nodded. A woman added, "It's about property values," as though reciting scripture. Derrick's hands clenched. One breath, two. He'd faced worse in interrogation rooms. But the sun beat down, and the scanner buzzed again. 10 to 13, suspicious person, his jaw flexed. Margaret leaned in. "You deaf? Or just slow?" He met her gaze, voice steady. "I'll move the truck when I'm done, ma'am." The group gasped. Margaret flushed. "Disrespectful." A neighbor jeered. "Call the cops, Margaret. This guy's a menace." Margaret's smirk widened as she dialed 911, speakerphone on. "Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious person at 12 Elmridge Lane. A man, black, in a ratty truck, refusing to leave. He's threatening the neighborhood." Her voice trembled with performative fear. The neighbors leaned in, phones angled for viral footage. Derrick froze, box in hand. The dispatcher's voice crackled. "Can you confirm the subject's behavior?" "Oh, he's loitering, arguing with residents. Probably casing homes. Send an officer. Immediately." Derrick's vision blurred. Not here. Not now. He'd endured worse, but this was a guerrilla theater of racism, broadcast for likes. His thumb hovered over his own phone, where a text glowed. "Chief, need you at HQ by 1500. "Ma'am," he said louder now, I'm moving in. Call off your audience. Margaret laughed, shrill. Moving in? With that truck? Please. You're a liar and a... The dispatcher interrupted. Ma'am, is there a police chief on site? Silence. Margaret's smile faltered. What? No. Why would? Derrick stepped forward, voice iron. Because I'm the chief. The dispatcher sighed. Chief Cole. We've been trying to reach you. The mayor's waiting. Margaret's phone clattered to the pavement. Neighbors gasped. A cruiser's siren wailed in the distance. Derrick reached into his pocket, withdrew his badge, and held it aloft. Sunlight glinted off the metal. I'm Police Chief Derrick Cole, he said, voice cutting through the silence. And you just reported me for moving into my own home. Margaret gaped. I didn't. You assumed I didn't belong here, he continued, relentless yet composed. That my truck, my presence, threatened your standards. He stepped closer, towering over her now. Racism isn't standards, Mrs. Whitaker. It's a crime. The neighbors froze. A cruiser screeched to a halt behind the U-Haul. 2 officers emerged, hands on holsters. Chief, one asked, eyes darting to Margaret. Officer Patel, Derrick nodded. Document this incident. Mrs. Whitaker's been harassing a resident, me, and falsely reporting a crime. Margaret's clipboard clattered to the ground. Wait, you're the new chief? Her voice cracked. But you're black. Derrick raised an eyebrow. Surprised? Or just disappointed? A neighbor whispered, "Oh my God," as others shuffled backward, deleting videos. The man in the polo shirt muttered, This isn't how it looked." Derrick gestured to Margaret. "You'll apologize publicly. And you'll attend bias training, today." He turned to the crowd. "All of you. This neighborhood's standards end now." The officers moved forward, cuffs glinting. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for filing a false report." Officer Patel stepped forward, reading Margaret her rights. "You're under arrest for filing a false report and racial harassment." Margaret's face paled. "But, Chief Cole, you can't let this happen." Derrick's gaze was steel. "I'm making it happen. You weaponized this badge's authority to target me. Now you'll answer to it." The neighbors stared, stricken. The woman who'd cited property values whispered, "He's the police chief?" as though the words tasted bitter. The man in the polo shirt deleted his video, shamefaced. Derrick turned to the crowd. "Every one of you enabled this. Tomorrow, you'll attend a mandatory community meeting. My office, 9 a.m. We'll discuss what neighborhood standards truly mean." Margaret spluttered as cuffs clicked. "You can't." "I can," Derrick said, voice quiet now. "And I will. Consider this your first lesson in respect." The cruiser's lights flashed. Neighbors scattered, whispers lingering like smoke. Derrick stood on the sidewalk, neighbors lingering like chastised children. "This neighborhood prides itself on excellence," he said, voice resonant. "But true excellence demands respect. You've mistaken privilege for superiority, fear for strength." He gestured to Margaret, now handcuffed in the cruiser. "Racism isn't a joke or a misunderstanding. It's a poison, and today you've tasted its consequences." Margaret was fined $5,000 for false reporting and ordered to attend mandatory bias training. The HOA revoked her presidency, citing conduct unbecoming. Neighbors received subpoenas to testify in an internal investigation. Margaret trembled, tears streaking her mascara. I just wanted to protect the neighborhood," she whispered, a hollow echo of her earlier bravado. The man in the polo shirt muttered, "We didn't know," while the woman who'd cited property values stared at her shoes, cheeks flushed. Derrick leaned into the cruiser window. "Change starts with accountability," he said, not unkindly. "This isn't about punishment, it's about learning to see people, not stereotypes." As the cruiser drove off, a neighbor asked, "Chief Cole, will you stay?" He smiled, weary but resolute. "I'm not going anywhere." 6 months later, Maplewood Heights hosted its first Community Unity Fair. Booths lined Elmridge Lane, soul food trucks, a neighbors over bias workshop, kids chalk-drawing rainbows on the pavement. Margaret, now in a diversity ambassador vest, handed out flyers awkwardly. "We're, rebranding the HOA," she mumbled to a black family touring the neighborhood. Her smile was strained but sincere. Derrick, now a neighborhood fixture, chatted with Officer Patel near a booth labeled Chief's Corner. Flyers announced free self-defense classes for teens and coffee with a cop mornings. The U-Haul truck had been replaced by a restored vintage pickup, Chief's Wheels, parked proudly at 12 Elmridge. Neighbors waved, no longer strangers. As fireworks lit the sky, Derrick watched a biracial group of kids laughing under the Pride in Excellence sign. His phone buzzed, a text from the mayor, "Your neighborhood's a model." "How'd you do it?" He typed, "Respect isn't a rule. It's a choice." Have you ever been in a situation where you saw someone being abused or mistreated? Share your experience in the comments. If you enjoyed this and want more content on inspiring Black stories channel like this, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and remember, real courage is not fearing the consequences, but prioritizing justice over comfort.